Good afternoon. This is Sachu Ramalingam, Lead Center of Wellbeing of Lighthouse Learning, here to welcome each and every teacher, coordinator, and the school leadership team that has joined in. It is, of course, a great pleasure to have all of you here on this most important topic, and that is none other than school resumption. The emotional and the physical aspects of what it takes to resume a school. More than everything, what really worries us is when the child finally is all ready to come to school. Are we as teachers and school leadership team really equipped enough to handle both the physical and the emotional needs of children? Children have been out of the school for 2 years now almost, and they have got used to so many luxuries at home, not having to be disciplined, into sitting in one place, not having to wait for a break to have their snacks or eat their food. There's so many small things that children are now maybe have to relearn and readjust. And we as teachers, when we are going to have these children in our classroom after so long, and we are all looking forward to it, how is it going to be? Of course, the senior school, 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th have already used to this kind of having children in a hybrid learning system. Often we get to hear that it was so easy to jump from, the physical school to virtual, but coming back to virtual to physical has got its own challenges. Of course, as usual, we have wonderful experts to talk on this issue along with me. While today I wear a different hat, I'm only going to touch upon the physical safety aspects, while our two guests who are here, who are familiar faces to some of you, are people right there out in the field. Yes, we have Ms. Nika Jaffrey, who is Principal, Billabong High International School, Santa Cruz, who many of you would not know has a wonderful hat of a well-being expert in her. And we have Ms. Kusum Kanwar, who is an educationalist and also is one of our Kangaroo Kids franchisee owner, and has also a vast experience of working with K-12 schools. And today she's very active with the pre-primary and the primary early education section out there, and all of you must be very familiar with her. I'm not going to take away the wonderful introduction that is all out ready there to be done more formally. But today it's almost everyone is saying school resumption. While we are preparing for school resumption physically, there is a very important aspect we as teachers have to unlearn and relearn, and that is how are we going to handle the mental health and the emotional well-being of our students. So that is going to be the agenda for today. And after the two speakers speak, the last 20 minutes would be for asking questions. So only then, please click on the join stage button, and then our technical support team would allow you into Zoom. Until then, you will find that you are in the waiting room only. So please stay in the platform and don't come into Zoom until you want to ask the question, because we will have to maintain the protocol of only allowing you when you have to ask the question, and we open up for questions. The second thing that we'd like to share is that when you are in the platform, you will see a feedback button on the right. Please, towards the end of the session, do not forget to fill the feedback form because your feedback is very, very important for us. Okay, so with these routine, mundane announcements, now I request Miss Pooja to introduce Miss Kusum Kanwar. Pooja, all over to you.
Thank you, Ms. Sacho. Good afternoon, everyone. It's a privilege and honor to introduce someone like Dr. Kusum. So, Dr. Kusum Kanwar is a high school principal and an early childhood educationist, a school owner, an entrepreneur, social evangelist, multi-awardee, soft skills, and a certified mindfulness trainer and mentor. She's a self-confessed educational transformer. As a participant, speaker, moderator of national and international panel discussions, conferences, and talk shows, she works on the premise of mindfulness, innovation, and collaboration in education, beginning from early years to the community stakeholders. Mr. Kusum is the founder and MD Kangaroo Kids Learning Systems, presently franchisee owner, operating Kangaroo Kids, Kandivali International, owned and operated Lokhandwala Andheri School. Ms. Kusum holds an honorary Doctor of Philosophy in Education degree, a double postgraduate degree in ME from University of Mumbai. She is more known as a K-12 educationist. Her efforts and acumen in running schools spans around 3 decades, including dedicated, passionate efforts in developing top-notch special needs unit, setting up quality review systems, curriculum, and operations in schools. Ms. Kusum is an ardent supporter and advocate of sustainable development goals in schools and in the MSME sector specifically. SDJ 13, climate change for children, who are the least responsible for climate change, yet they will bear the greatest burden of its impact. Kusum Kanwar works on the premise that children are India's future. And how do we put children at the center of everything while designing for change? So I welcome Ms. Kusum Kanwar to this event, to this webinar on school resumption.
Thank you very much, Ms. Pooja, and thank you for having me here. And I'd like to thank Ms. Sachu Ramalingam. She's the head of Department Center of Wellbeing for initiating today's masterclass on emotional and physical aspects of school resumption and for having me again on this platform. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ms. Kusum. Now I would invite Ms. Jayashree Nair to do the introduction of Dr. Nikat Jaffrey. I will just give me a minute because I will unmute myself, and since my colleague is in my own room, so give me a minute.
Good afternoon, everyone. It's an honor to welcome Ms. Nikat Jaffrey, the principal of Billabong International School, Santa Cruz. Today, it's my privilege to introduce our esteemed speaker, Ms. Nikat Jaffrey. In her academic eclogues, she holds master's degree in English literature and master's degree in education. She embraces more than 35 years of experience in leading schools, few to know Vigyur High, Hansraj Moraji Public School and Junior College, RMS International School and Junior College, Ambassador School Dubai, BK Balwatika and School of Education. With her expertise and progressive leadership in many schools, she holds many titles and achievements. Superbly proud to announce her achievements. She is a recipient of India's Most Outstanding Principals of the Year 2021, an award by Excellent. She is the recipient of Education Leadership Award by World Education Congress 2019. She has been awarded the Global Teachers Accreditation Award by British Council of Research in Digital Innovation. She's been instrumental to set up a new CBSE school in Dubai in compliance with all the regulatory bodies of UAE. With her expertise, she has established an ECCA Institute for aspiring early childhood care. Speaker today, ma'am. Welcome.
Thank you, Jayashree. Thank you, Ms. Sachu, for this glorious and gracious introduction of mine. I really thank each one of you all for being here, for logging in, and being ready for the masterclass that we are about to begin. Thank you so much for having me here. I look forward to this session, and I also look forward to learning a lot from Ms. Kusum.
Miss Sachi, you're on mute.
Thank you, Ms. Kusum and Ms. Nikhat. And now that the stage is all set, and many of you are out there almost in the school every day, braving the challenges of the pandemic, sometimes having to close down and sometimes having to restart. But we are reaching a stage where we are going to restart almost for sure. And since children are also getting vaccinated, teachers are all double vaccinated, your protocols for COVID management is all in place, circulated to each one of you. I'm sure the confidence is high. Ms. Nikhat, you have already resumed partly the school resumption. So, how was it, and what are the steps that you had to think of, especially to receive children emotionally, and what kind of guidance you think the school leadership team can keep in mind, from your experience?
Thank you, Sachu. I think before we talk about what did we do for emotional support, I think it's important for us to touch upon what did we do in the physical infrastructure, in the physical space, to ensure that the children are being welcomed in a very safe and healthy environment. So as we all know, our organization has been very proactive, and we have gone in a complete COVE safety audit, and we came out with flying colors. Almost all the schools went through it and came out with flying colors, which ensured and reassured not only us, but also the parent fraternity and the teachers that the school is a safe place to go to. So all those measures were put into place, and we have been in constant touch with the safety department at the head office as well, who has taken us through that. And I think that helped the teachers also, and we as leaders also, to be mentally and emotionally prepared for the school resumption of the school, thinking that it's a safe place. Because the fear has not only been in our mind, in the children's mind. I think the fear of physical resumption has been great in the teachers and the leaders' mind as well. So the steps that we took, the measures that we took to ensure that the school is a safe place, help the teachers gain some kind of a lost confidence. And that in turn has helped the children to come back to school and be a very confident child in the school without any fear. And having said that, when they came back to school, I think it's very important for we as teachers, we realize that we are the key people who are responsible for their well-being, their mental well-being. And before I think we talk about the children, it is very important to talk about the teachers' well-being, the kind of stress that all of us have come from back to the school. And any which way teaching is recognized as a high-stress career. Plus, added to that, we have had COVID-19 pandemic, we went through different stresses back home and different situations, and we ourselves have come back to school with a lot of fear. We are paranoid about certain concerns. And all that has, I think, once we take care of ourselves first, before we try to take care of the children's mental and emotional well-being, I think that really helps. So we as teachers, first of all, what we have done, I would say, and it's part and parcel of our daily life. And we as teachers, for those schools who are yet to reopen, have to first engage in self-care. We need to understand that we are human beings. We will have burnout. We will need to rest. We need to create space for our own self-care, even when the school is on, after the children have dispersed. And we need to create new habits. We need to do an activity which is more meaningful. We need to get enough sleep. We need to exercise physically. There are so many things that we need to possibly do to ensure that we have taken care of ourselves in order to take care of the children who are with us, right? So, and then when the children are here, the teachers have been extra vigilant, and they have been very alert and very alert when I say to their emotional and physical needs as well, as to are the children showing any kind of stress. And there are different ways in which the children come up with the stresses. There are different, I would say, different reactions to stress in children. And coming back to school has been a stressful experience for them. So teachers have been extra vigilant, very careful to understand, to look at the children and understand if there are any reactions that they are showing. Have they become more withdrawn? Are they showing any other changes in their behavior? Are we coming up with instances where bullying has increased? Are the children showing any poor memory or concentration in the class? Have they become very irritable? Have they become very aggressive? There are so many ways in which way our children, come up with or react to the stresses in their life. So yes, the teachers have been to ensure that the physical resumption has been very good for the children, have been very alert, very aware. Our teachers are also finding out ways to support their well-being as to how do they counsel them, how do they guide them. They are no longer just the teachers or the facilitators in a teaching learning environment in a classroom, but they're also acting as today, as I had one child and he said that I look upon one of the teachers in the school as a father figure. And I think that really speaks a lot about the teacher and the kind of guidance and counseling that the child has been having under this teacher's care. So we've been all doing all this and doing much more. If you have the time and you allow me to continue, I can definitely continue, or we can leave the platform open for Ms. Kusum to take it forward.
Yeah, good that you have set the context and kind of shared what all you had to look into. We will go also into details what a teacher has to take care in a classroom, the physical aspects, especially what are the kind of things that the coordinators would have to look out. Of course, the SOPs have all been shared, but speaking about it really helps. May I now invite Ms. Kusum? You are on the other side of the spectrum. You are a owner of a franchisee, preschool, and the preschool and the early education systems are areas which are very, very sensitive, and you have parents who are anxious, and the number of questions that you receive is also phenomenal. So what is your experience till now?
Thank you so much, Sachu. Really a question that is being asked on every platform by every parent, by every teacher, and there is so much that Ms. Nikat has already spoken about the teachers and their well-being, the teacher preparedness, and the social emotional quotient as well. So let me start on a very, very positive statement today. That pandemic is fading off, wishing for a happily ever after. And the dreadful story which began 2 years ago, it was frightening, shocking, locking us and even killing us, is now flagging world over. And we are hoping for a happy ending. And so helping children back to schools is important for children and to everyone around them, which means all adults, it's teachers, parents, and the complete ecosystem. With these last 23 months, which have been very strenuous, very difficult, on children, parents and teachers, on the emotional and mental well-being. So we need to be mindful of what is best for every child, what is best for every teacher, for a parent. And in fact, this is working on the ecosystem around the children, to create these social emotional, mindsets, you can say, so that we build trust and faith for everyone throughout. Now, this trust will help parents to send all the children back to school, for in-person schooling soon, as we want every single child back in schools. Now, schools are working on balancing the education learning gaps, and so have we planned that. So also taking care of the social and emotional needs of students along with the health and safety of children and staff, very importantly. Therefore, once integrated efforts are used to develop, students' social emotional skills and mental well-being, and also of teachers, and when parents are regularly informed of these measures taken by schools, there will be many positive outcomes. Now, the emotional and mental skills, along with the physical health and hygiene, measures that are implemented and practiced by all schools give parents, this assurance. And what is absolutely essential is that we should not rush into, completing the syllabus. So educational administration should acknowledge the need for a time for healing for all of us. And this needs to be communicated loudly and clearly to all parents. Now, to specifically answer why social emotional skills were absolutely essential, and now more than ever, and why we have implemented these is, we know that studies have shown that SELs, that social emotional learning, it improves mental health and behavior. It also boosts children's social competence and creates more positive school climates. And we are all aware of that. So it does all good things. So why wait to develop the strength of character, the skills for resilience and a warm toughness, in children? So learning, according to all of us in our system, in an ecosystem of Billabong Highs and Kangaroo Kids, is it has to be a social process. So we need to provide our children with social nourishment along with academic nurturing. And so outside of the homes, sometimes, and also at homes, children see everyone wearing masks. Now, facial expressions that are used to communicate feelings and provide reassurance, they're all masked up. And that can be add to a feeling of huge uncertainty. And for children returning to, in-person care, the changes to space, adophobia and routines might take everything or make everything look and feel different. Thus, that's another hesitation. So, further children may be aware that COVID-19 has risk to being, around other people. And they may worry about getting sick, and there sets in a separation anxiety. Some children may feel nervous, or they may be reluctant to return to school, especially if they have been learning at home for months. I would say 2 years for us. So it's been almost 23, 24 months for all our children. So how, I'm giving you these, the anxiety, the hesitation, because this is what we have, gathered from all the parents on our platforms. So how does this separation anxiety look like? It may show up like crying and being more clingy when parents leave their child, even if it is for a short period of time. Now, helping children transition to coming back to school, it may be a process, specifically in the early years or the foundation years. I would say that is the preschools and the primary sections, because they have opened for the first time in these 23 months. It is a process which takes time and planning, and to make separation less difficult for returning children. So try some of these tips that we have done in our school, whether it was online or whenever we have had any activity classes as well. So listen to children, right? Take their worries seriously and talk to them about their concerns. Helping them prepare, learning the new rules and procedures of returning to school, and to go over with them, with children, because as the head office has a COVID protocol guideline in place. So it is very important that we go through these procedures with our teachers, and they go through it with the children. Asking your children how they feel about coming back to school, and ensuring parents inform you if the child has any significant concerns. Now, keeping calm, as we all know, that's very, very important. Remember that children pick up on adults' behavioral cues. They pick up from us, to help your children stay relaxed and feel safe. So modeling calm behavior yourself is very important. Discuss a leaving plan, for parents. Now, to keep the goodbyes from becoming difficult for children, ask parents to try this. Make goodbyes positive. Tell them, make goodbyes positive. Announce that they are leaving. Remind the child that they will be back for them. Do not hesitate when leaving. Don't turn back. Just say bye-bye and leave. Do not return until the planned time. Follow the same routine every time you leave or drop off, your child. So reassure them about safety measures in place by the school, and that help them and others safe as well. Let children know that they can warm up slowly. They don't have to dive in right away. They can take their time. Being comfortable playing with friends again may take time, and that is completely okay in such times. Be proactive, but be calm. Children often take the emotional cues from the key adults in their lives. So, it's important that we as teachers listen to, the child's concerns, speak kindly, and be reassuring. Be prepared that their emotions may change, and let them know that it's completely okay. The most important thing is to manage these conversations from a place, of compassion and understanding completely, because it's importantly children are listening to worries about sickness, about finances, about isolation, about coping with grief from loss, and this has made parenting very stressful as well. And and then that comes to us in schools. So we in schools are the closest to them, in whom children will confide their fears and uncertainties. So our job here is very, very crucial. Many families have reported, increased behavior problems or challenges in children, including anxiety and meltdowns. But they want their children back in school. They still want them back in school, as parents believe that in schools, children and adolescents receive more than just academics. So here they learn social and emotional skills, their physical skills, get exercise, have access to mental health and other support services. So, for many families, schools are where children also get supervised access to internet and other vital services, right? Also socialization and universal support to cope with crisis and loss associated with pandemic is all here with us in schools. And there are many studies out there that show us how teaching SELs, social emotional learning, beginning at the foundation years, that's preschool to primary years, it benefits children in their adulthood. So children learn to, they love to learn through methods they enjoy. So in my school, like all of yours, we believe and include a lot of narratives. There are a lot of conversations, there are stories, games, and everything we do, right from teaching and learning, languages, math or science, right? But even more importantly, indirectly through, artistic and you can say creative expression, which are known to be very effective in addressing deeper anxieties. So engaging children in making the school environment more child-friendly, preparing and putting up paintings and posters, made by children. I mean, they have made these, gallery art walls in their own homes. So we can always ask them to, get it here to school and do that. Stories written by students and teachers and other artwork would provide much needed space and time to start the healing process. So, and the outcomes using these methods have had, it has been really incredible. And by setting ourselves up working on achieving social emotional competencies is the way forward now more than ever. Mr. Chud, should I continue? Yeah.
We'll just take, you have given a plethora of information, and I'm sure many of us were very busy writing down these points because you were so brief and concise with all of them, but they are the key. Even if we manage to incorporate one of these suggestions in every period, we would make a difference. Don't get overwhelmed. Am I equipped to do this? This is the precise reason why over the last 1 year we have put in so much of stress on the center of well-being. We have worked on appointing counselors, and some of the schools are still trying to get their replacements. So one big criteria for each of the school is ensure that your counselors are in place, inducted while the physical schooling is happening, because you now have a double-edged sword to work on. It's just not your students, but you need to take care of the teachers' well-being too. It is equally overwhelming for teachers as much as it is overwhelming for students to suddenly be in a space where there are more than 5 to 10 people in that room. The first 2 hours, even today, when we walk into a wedding, or if we walk into a closed family group meeting, or a get together, the first half an hour is like, oh, why is this person coming so close to me? Oh, why is this person walking around without a mask? Right? So this the anxiety that a child is going to go through is raise the power 3, raise the power 4. So give space and time not only for yourself, but also give space and time to the child. And if you're not able to handle, your first SOS protocol is call in the counselor. So initially, the message out there for the counselors too is, if you are handling a one-on-one session and initial days, if there is a SOS call from your teacher, from your coordinator, from your principal, please be available for the SOS. Maybe in the initial days, especially when we are going to start from March, the grade 6 periods, students coming in. Imagine these are now young adolescents who 2 years before the teachers saw them as, primary kids who are second standard and third standard. Now suddenly these are kids who are grown up, and the teachers are going to find children who are not only physically grown up, but are also emotionally grown up and socially not so grown up, maybe the way you would want them to. So initially, call out to all the counselors, keep 2 periods at least, flexible to be able to handle SOS in the school. Be there in the entrance to receive the children. The Center of Wellbeing holds the emotional and the social vertical of the school. Many of the Billabong school Center of Wellbeing professionals have heard the sentence from me. They must have got tired of it, but now we are reiterating it right now. The special educators and the counselors are expected to be the pillar of support for the teachers, for the coordinators, for the principals. I know it's like a call of duty on the border, like how a soldier is to be, but that's the requirement, because there are enough WHO guidelines and call outs put out through research that when physical schooling starts, the next big pandemic is going to be the mental health. How much we are prepared, and over the years we are far ahead than other educational institutions in this preparation. So do not get overwhelmed. Just stay calm and take down the suggestions, in a constructive way. And it's not possible to implement everything. Even if you keep the last 5 minutes for children to talk, for children to interact, for children to express their emotion through a drawing. There is, and if you don't understand what the child has drawn, share the drawing with your coordinator or with your counselor, who will be able to see much more deeper messaging from these drawings, because what children can't articulate in words comes out beautifully through drawings. So I'll be going on and on. While we focus so much on pre-primary and primary, and how the teachers have to be thinking about it. especially with the middle school and the high school, while children are very happy to come to school, while parents are very happy to send their children to school because they find that all schools were taking care of half the parenting job. Ms. Kusum, what would you think that the teachers would have to keep in mind, especially for the grade 5 onwards? Ms. Nikhat, please. Yeah, sorry.
Before we delve into that, Ms. Achu, I would like to say that the very important thing that we need to address is to ensure that the children do not spread the information, or rather the misinformation that they must have gathered in these 1.5, 2 years being at home and just hearing and talking about the pandemic, the symptoms, and also using the right kind of a language. That is very important for us to use the right kind of a language. So I think before we address the academic requirements as well and the identifying the learning gaps, we need to understand and focus upon what do we need to do. This is an opportunity for us to ensure or instill a habit of fact checking in the children. So if we have children talking or gossiping or moving around, giving some information which is not the right information about the pandemic or about the virus, we need to ask them to go and check the facts. Bring in a lot of research mindedness. I would say every adversity brings in an opportunity, and this is an opportunity to bring research mindedness in the children, giving them the list of websites or websites which are, for example, WHO or UNICEF, wherein they can go and find the right information and then distill the information amongst the teachers and the friends. So I think we need to create that environment wherein we are able to filter the information from right to wrong and help the children to do that. It's a great opportunity for us to do that. So fact checking is very important. From where do they check? So that's very important when they come back to school, and they need to be heard. At times our children do babble a lot. They just, they are just trying to seek the teacher's attention, and everyone wants to seek the teacher's attention at the same time because they have come back to the school after 1.5 or 2 years, and now they feel that they have an opportunity to interact with the teacher more. So our observation has been that there have been noisy classrooms. So initially when the children have come into the classroom, yes, we need to understand that we need to give them some time to settle in. We need to give them some time away only from pure academics and to deal with their emotional and mental health. But slowly and steadily, we need to bring the law and order of the school into place. We need to tell them that this is the right behavior, this is not the right behavior, and we need to bring in a classroom behavior module or a model in the class along with the child's support. We need to ask the children to come up with their own strategies or with their own do's and don'ts about what a classroom ideal behavior should be. And when it comes from the children, especially at these times when aggression, inattendance, mental and physical, and bullying or any letting out of their emotions which they have curbed inside in any which way, this is an opportunity for them. We need to set the rules right, and we need to set the rules right from day one, and it has to be with support with the children. It has to be in collaboration with the children, so that if they are the ones who are setting the class rules, it is easier for them to follow that. And then as Ms. Kusum very rightly said, we need to be there. We need to listen to them. And we need to also repeat the sentences that the children are saying and summarize what conversation and discussion we have had with them, because that gives the child an understanding that I was heard and I have been listened to, and the teacher understands me right and she's there to hear me out. So that's very, very important. The child might want to discuss about illness and death because that is what the child might have been a witness to. So they are very difficult topics, and we need to give the children that kind of a permission to talk about such difficult topics. We as teachers, as we have said, we need to be first prepared ourselves. We need to take care of ourselves so that we can be givers in the right manner. And if we are not there, if we are at the brink of a breakdown, then what can we give to the children? If we showcase, we need to be very safe. We need to be always masked up. We need to keep sanitizing ourselves. But if we show paranoia behavior in the classroom, or if we have a child coming close to us and we start running 3 feet away, saying, stay away, stay away, stay away, I mean, that creates an atmosphere which is not very conducive and healthy for the child. And when I spoke about the language, what I meant was if there are people in the house or otherwise as well, Or if there's a student who has come up with a COVID-19 symptom, instead of we saying that he's a suspected COVID-19 patient, we need to just say that he's showing some symptoms and we need to investigate, or we need to just get him treated, or he's just not well. And if there are people who are recovering from COVID, then again we need to say that they are recovering from COVID that they have been exposed to. So talking about or using the right terminology is very important. If we say they are suspects, if we say they are victims, all this have a very negative impact on the children, and they have a very negative meaning for all of us. We need to be a very positive thinker and a speaker at all times, and we need to be mindful about what we say and how we say. So if we say that people who have COVID-19, instead of that, we say people who are being treated for COVID-19, that really helps. As I said, if we say that if there are people or students or your own colleague or your peer who's recovering from COVID-19, instead of that, this is the right way to say, instead of saying there are cases or these are victims or they are suspects, we might just say that they might have COVID-19, but we are not very sure. We will have to investigate to understand how it is going about. And then instead of we saying people acquiring or contracting COVID-19, rather than that, we can say, this is the right way of saying, rather than saying that people are infecting others. This is a very wrong statement that comes from all of us as adults or children, that so-and-so is infecting others. We can just say that contracting COVID-19, or we can just say that acquiring COVID-19. So using the right language, using the right terminology, speaking in the first language is always very important. I would say that also has helped us to deal with the situation. And this is not the only thing. I will cite an example here that we had a student walking into the school after 2 years, and he was a new admission. He had taken admission a couple of years back in 2020, in June 2020, when we were already online on an online platform. And the very first thing that he stepped into the school and said and spoke about to the admin in charge, Ms. Saira, is that, will the children or will my friends like my face? How do I look? So, that's an apprehension, or that's a fear which we don't even as adults think about, or we are aware of, that a child might going through such emotions as well. And this is all caused due to anxiety and stress. These are all apprehensions which are very normal otherwise. But when we asked this child as to why do you have to say this? I mean, why will your parents not like the face? Have they not seen you in the last 2 years? He said, no, I've managed to keep my camera off at all times. Nobody has seen me, but I'm really scared. I'm really anxious. Will my friends like me and my face? And a good looking and a very beautiful child at that. So imagine the kind of apprehensions that the children are coming into the school with. So I think we need to be prepared for these underlying emotions, for these underlying anxieties, underlying apprehensions, that we need to give them an opportunity to talk. As Ms. Sachu rightly said, that counselors and special educators play a very, very important and crucial role in ensuring that the children's, and not only children, I keep repeating myself, the teachers and children's emotional and well-being is in place. The counselors have to come up with ideas, with strategies, share the strategies with the teachers to ensure that there is better classroom management, because that is also what is witnessed. Everyone wants to speak at the same time. Everyone is out to get the teacher's attention. Everyone wants to be heard, because there were times when they were online and they were not heard, or they were not seen and they didn't want to be seen or heard, but now they wish to do that. Everybody is out to impress each other when it comes to being a teenager in a classroom environment. So there's a situation which is very unruly. It's not that we as teachers do not have the right classroom management strategies in place, but I think the counselors and the special educators play a very crucial part in not only coming up with strategies, but also sharing it with the teachers. We need to have the training, the masterclass that we are having right now. We need to have our individual masterclasses at each school and center level to ensure that the teachers are equipped to deal with situations which are seen and which are unseen. So I think these are very, very important points. And then when it comes to high school or middle school as well, they're coming back to learning in a physical space, right? So learning we all know, we are all very, we accepted that there is a huge learning gap. The learning, even though the teachers have been out there been teaching day in and day out, in spite of all the challenges that they have been facing back home. In spite of all that, learning has taken a hit. There's a huge learning gap. And the most important part here is for the coordinators of these sections to help the teachers to come up with strategies again to ensure, to assess what the learning gap has been and how wide is the gap. How do we go about managing the lost school learning? What should we first start with? Should we first start with completing the syllabus, or should we first identify the missing and the regressed knowledge or skills? So what should we catch up on? Should we first catch up on what has been missed, or should we just rush ahead with the syllabus because end of the year exam is around the corner, or they are about to be promoted to the next academic year? And it's been my personal experience that transition changes, as we say, is always constant, but changes are very painful. Transitions are very painful. They take a toll, and transitioning from online to offline has also been quite a challenging task. There have been so many more issues that have come up when we went from offline to online. It was just the technology and the strategies or the IT tools that we had to equip ourselves with, besides the social, emotional, and other skills that we possessed within ourselves. But coming back to online, offline schooling, we have had to unlearn all that we have done in the last 2 years and ensure that now you're not screaming at the top of on the top of a voice to make ourselves heard. We need to be calm, we need to be assured, very self-assured, and be there to make the children understand that we are here for you. We understand that you have lost a lot of learning, but we are here to support you for that. But for that, we need to first identify what have you lost on, where have you regressed as far as knowledge is concerned. Then we have also come to a situation where in some of the classes have hybrid classroom going on. So not all classes are in physical stage. 9 to 12, it's all offline, but grade 6 to 8 is still in a hybrid module where very few children, 2 children out of 24 are sitting online and studying, and they need to be given equal attention. So there's so much that the teachers have to now deal with. They have to ensure that the children sitting right in front of them are given enough and more attention. At the same time, the children who are sitting back home do not miss out on what the learning is all about. So they need to implement hybrid learning in the right manner. And again, new strategies have to be learned and taught. So we have to ensure that we build a very supporting learning environment in a hybrid module as well. So, and I say behavior problems will definitely come up. Issues like bullying has been observed, and that's very natural. Some underlying issues, like if the child was in grade 7 and has now come back to grade 9. So the issues that the children had in grade 7, whatever they must have left it, wherever they had left it, the children now are picking up on those issues and then, dealing with each other in the manner that they feel is the best. So there's so much for them. They were waiting for them to come back and deal with these concerns, because sitting at home, they couldn't possibly just pick up a call and speak to their so-called enemies of their own classrooms. So behavioral issues will definitely increase, and we have to be dealing with them patiently. And this is again where the counselors and the special educators and the coordinators play a crucial role. I will say that remote learning was still very easy. I mean, the first 6 months when we really struggled to ensure that everything is in place, post that it was much more easier than what the teachers will be up for once they are back in an offline schooling. So this is just for the teachers to be prepared that it will not be easy being back into an offline module, but there's always, when we have fought the pandemic and we have ensured that learning has not stopped, I'm sure we will all, find a footing once again, and we will come up with the right strategies to deal with the situations in school. And one thing that I would like to add here before I hand over the mic to you back, Sachu, is that teachers also will have to learn where to draw the line. So when the children come back in the first week, we are trying to be there, we are trying to be lenient to their behavior, to their issues that they come up with, and to their habits. The children are used to snacking and eating all the time at home when they were on an online mode. So the cameras were switched off, or they had 10 minutes after each period to go take a break, walk around, and come back and sit with their snacks. They used to eat in between. So there have been a lot of snacking habits that they have developed. There have been a lot of habits that they have developed otherwise, other than learning online, is that gaming. They have learned the strategy or the way forward as to how do they use two devices, with one device on for learning and one device on for gaming at the same time. So when the children are coming back to the school, I have been a witness to certain situations which point out to technological withdrawal symptoms, because they're used to multitasking. They were used to switching off the camera, switching off their audio or their video while the teacher is teaching, and playing games on their mobile or on any other device. And now when they don't get that in the classroom situation, they're hyper, they're anxious, they don't know how to invest their energy on. What do they invest their energy on? How to keep themselves focused while the teacher is teaching. So these things will come up. I think when it took 6 months for us on an online platform to get acquainted with an online platform and to deal with whatever challenges. 6 months, that's the max, I would say. Some of us were out there within 2 weeks of going online. And I think it will take equal time for us to do all the unlearning and learning back into an offline mode, especially because we have come back from a very challenging situation to another challenging situation. And that is what transition is all about, as I said. Over to you, Sachu.
Thank you so much for touching on those very important aspects, which usually we think everyone knows, but talking and speaking about it has reminded and freshened up all our memories about it. While we have the option of now taking questions from the teachers, I would request you to click the button join stage, and you would be allowed into Zoom. And once you are in the Zoom platform, please raise your hand so that we will know who wants to ask a question. So while I'm waiting for seeing raised hands, let me also emphasize on a certain the few of the physical aspects that you as class teachers will have to ensure. Children being children would forget social distancing after a few days. They so ensure social distancing is maintained. Ensure that children are using their masks regularly. Ensure that the hand wash facilities are well maintained, and children have to do their hand wash frequently. Ensure that sanitization is there. Also within the classroom, ensure that there are enough dustbins. And all of you, if any one of you who are front facing to client servicing, like admission officers, the storekeepers, the people who are working in the admin department, the hygiene officers, all of you ensure that you read through the SOP that is being circulated, and also be aware of who are the high risk people who are coming into the schools, the vendors, etc. Especially if you as a manager of the store is handling parcels, ensure that there are spaces available for you to quarantine your parcels and keep your parcels in quarantine for some time before you start handling them. Ensure that the disinfection is happening. Now, especially the physics, chemistry, biology classes, you would be starting to use your labs after so many months. Ensure that the sanitization of your equipments are there. Ensure that your chemicals in the lab are not expired. There has to be a full recce of your acids, of your chemicals, of the gas knobs, of your cylinders, of the equipments, the burners, etc. A trial run, ensure that you do before the children are in the classroom, in the labs. Similarly, there may be a lot of repairs that you will have to undertake, and so ensure that you flag the repair work that you would need. Also, there is a lot of chances that behind your whiteboards and behind your green boards there could have been a seepage, or they could be the termites. So ensure that this kind of a deep cleaning has happened even behind those invisible corners and those behind large furnitures like cupboards, etc. So the idea is it's like almost starting a new school, the kind of work that needs to go. Now, as coordinators, you would also need to look into the washroom areas, ensure that, the habit of very consciously looking if any of the cleaning substances are available and they are out of reach of children. So all those safety norms that you guys have done, you need to be back, and you need to also have once in say a week or 10 to 15 days, as and when required, meetings with the hygiene officer, identify health officers. The roles of the health, hygiene, and the emergency team is very important. Also, those of you who need to use PPE kits, if you have to, use the protocol of where you will have to dispose your PPE kits, and are there enough identified dustbins into which the PPE kits would be disposed. And if at all there is a temperature increase in some of your students and you identify a student needs to be isolated, identify and maintain an isolation room, and especially the sick bay or the infirmary would come into play. But that area needs to be also in your checklist right now. So having rattled off so many requirements, let me now see who is out there to ask the question. Pooja.
Miss Sachu, can I just add in two things for
Yes.
Billabong Highs that have also the preschool part, and where they're using toys. So where toys are concerned, and I'm talking this about this out of experience. So where toys are concerned, to make a plan of a toy box for each child, and ensuring that children are not involved in activities like it's time to pick your toys, and they shouldn't be touching toys that others played with. Of course, this is again social development, but it's an exception during these times. Also, preparing teachers to help children understand the basic concepts of disease prevention and control, which even Ms. Nikhat has, highlighted when she was speaking. So, demonstrate why it is important to wash hands for 20 seconds with soap and water. Like we can put a small amount of glitter in students and children's hands and have them to wash it with just water. So notice how much glitter remains, and then have them wash for 20 seconds with soap and water. You can also sing the happy birthday song, which is 20 seconds long, and it's just a lot of fun. So I just wanted to add in these two things. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Now I would request Purnima to unmute herself and ask a question. Also, I see Arundhati, Anuradha, so you could unmute yourself and ask your question.
Good evening, all of you. It was such a lovely session. I was there from the beginning, and I loved. Actually, it was not only mere an interaction; it was actually an advice, and that too, it worked very well. Thank you so much for this. And I would like to raise a question. It is like if the child in one of my previous school, it was like that. Like the child was not at all willing to learn, so the child was like now when I have a small contact with that child, I had one contact, so then he was fine with the online class. He told like nobody is noticing me, so I'm fine with online class. I don't want to go to a physical class. So it's very difficult for the parents. So the parents also called me personally and told the child is not willing for a physical school. I don't know how to make that child get into the school. So the parents were in that type of dilemma. So what can I do for that child? I, being the class teacher of a particular class, I cannot like completely concentrate on that child all the time. The focus cannot be completely on that child. So is there any other a small a way where I can give him special attention? In that way, if there is a way, then it would really help me.
So may I ask how old is the child, or which class is he in?
Grade 4.
Okay. So I think, children need to take their time. Also you can start with shorter schooling learning sessions and make them progressively longer. Uh, Also, let's stay informed, ask questions, get more guidance from your seniors also in school. Always remember, let's carry an emotional toolbox for children, right? That is a few skills, like probably you can make it like a game for the child. It just comes in for maybe 15-20 minutes in the beginning, and you can ask the child for name the feeling, notice your body, and it helps the child understand the connection between their emotions and their body. And what happens is, eventually he starts giving in, or she starts giving into you when you're asking them questions, and then they would like to come to school because it's going to be a fun session for them. So when these children, such children who are on a very long prolonged online session, it definitely gets little difficult for them to come back onto into these large spaces and with other children. So we will have to take it one step at a time. So over
So
to
I
you, Ms.
think the
Nakul.
same goes for us as well. I will
Yeah.
speak for myself and not for the others, but coming back to or from online to online and being in school in a physical space was something that I would honestly not looking forward to. And the only idea was, the only thought behind was, oh God, I'll have to dress up again. I'll have to put up a great font and I'll have to socialize. I mean, you stop become a social person because you and start enjoying your own company. While enjoying your own company is very, very important, but then isolation in this respect is not very good for your mental health. So initially, I think all of us as adults, even teachers, had shown resistance in coming back to an online schooling. And though 50% of it was due to the fear of contracting COVID, 50% was also in being there, physically meeting each other, interacting, and all that. I think the best way also is that let the child, take it very easy and slow, and showcasing the children what the children are enjoying in school, what their peers are enjoying in school, allowing them to go out onto the sports ground. I think introducing sports indoor and outdoor, especially outdoor, is very, very important. And we started with all our outdoor activities, all our sports and performing activities were here right from day one. And the children sitting back home have seen their friends, their peers enjoying out in the sun, playing with their ball, having fun, and slowly and steadily the attendance has increased. So I think instead of focusing in just getting the child to school, we need to focus on how do we, very subtly give this message to the children back home that school is fun and there's so much more that's happening in the school. So I think that should really help.
True.
Yeah. Also,
From
this
what
is,
Sachu had said
yeah.
earlier about sanitization, that came to my mind was because a parent had sent an email about it, was that the teachers have to be very mindful that those sanitization or sanitizing the hand is very, very important. The child does not do it right before he is eating his food or it's snack time. That's a time when the child needs to go to be sent to the washroom to wash his hands thoroughly and then come back and start having his food, instead of just sanitizing it, because there's so much more in that sanitizer which might go into the food and into a child's stomach and might be detrimental. So I thought I have this opportunity, let me put this point here.
Thank you so much, both Ms. Kusuma and Ms. Nikhat. I would now request Anuradha to unmute herself and ask a question, followed by Rani Rai. So I'm sure the teachers, you have questions in your mind. So please unmute yourself and ask your question.
Good afternoon. I'm so sorry, I'm having a network issue, so I'm keeping my video off.
That's fine.
I wanted to just add to this that students are always, they are also out of practice of writing. I see that now they're coming to school, but they do not want to write anything. Right now, televisions and everything is going on, but they're very reluctant to write. Because as ma'am said that they were keeping their cameras off and they were busy with the video games and the other games and other activities. They were multitasking, and that led to, this writing part that they are not doing it. So now how do we get them back to this, that to writing?
See, everything takes time. According to me, if you allow me to speak, everything takes time. If we expect the children to start coming into school and start writing pages after pages, being very disciplined, being very happy at the same time, that's, I think, too much to ask. So it's always easy to, break it into bits and pieces. Make them right, yes, but make them right one subject at a time. Possibly we need to stagger, even not even only our, as you say, stagger your arrival and dispersal. I think stagger our the work that we give to the children in the classroom. Stagger the work that we are giving the children to take back home and to write and finish their assignments and bring back. So there's so much of patience that we need to, to have. And testing times will always test your patience. And this is another testing time for you. So we need to be a little patient. We need to be patient with the children, make them write as much as they possibly can. And they might be genuinely tired. I mean, their wrists are not used to writing possibly. So they are genuinely tired. And we need to also ensure and speak about the good nutrients, the good eating habits, the food that they should intake, which will help them build stronger bodies and mind, both, because what your mind is was what your health is. So we need to build on these basic habits of theirs, which will then ensure that they have stronger wrist and willingness to write, because they're not very willing writers. And everything will take time. Habits cannot be inculcated overnight. So we need to give them some time, hold on to our patience, and things will fall into place, is what I believe in.
Absolutely. I too reiterate that, because there's going to be a gradual increase of everything, of exercises as students, are returning to the new normal, after a long gap. And the ones that are, the ones who are online, of course, like how Ms. Nikita shared that probably if they're writing, they're not writing, we really don't know what's happening. So we will have to, promote this resilience and to reduce anxiety. Also, it could be a reason as to, why are they anxious of not writing? So is it because, how Ms. Nikit has also reiterated that there needs to be some exercise, there has to be food, nutrition that needs to be taken care of. So when we are looking at it as a mind, body and soul, we're looking at it from being very mindful about the whole situation. Slowly it will all come back to normalcy as they see other children writing as well. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Now I would request there is Ms. Pooja Mas. If you would like to ask a question, you could unmute yourself and ask a question. Ms. Pooja Mas.
Good afternoon, ma'am.
Yes.
Actually, it was a wonderful session. No such question. I have joined new in the Euro School, and this is my first training that I'm doing from here. It's just been 14 days. It is a wonderful session, excellent session. I have come to know many things, and which I should have come to know earlier. It's a very helpful session. Thank you a lot, and I'm looking forward to more of it.
Thank you. Thank you.
All the very best, Pooja.
Thank you. Thank you.
And welcome to the family. While we were also talking, I started the session mentioning about the food habits. Now, young children like grade 1, grade 2, grade 3 children, when I go to public spaces and I hear about them talking, I happen to ask a parent, how's your kid coping with the physical school starting? The parent said, miss, I went to the principal and said, my children will not sit in your class. And the principal said, why? Because my child is so used to munching something or the other every hour. And if you're not going to allow him to eat and only eat in the short breaks, he's not going to be interested in coming to school and sit in your class. Now, so these are things that we need to keep in mind. We need to be flexible. If someone wants to open and have, say, some dry fruit or some dry stuff quietly just because they are having those hunger pangs, I think we need to be flexible and allow a few students at a time discreetly to do it until they get set into a routine. Similarly, writing is a very, very big challenge. These are kids, the Gen X kids as they are called. In 2030, The prediction is there would be not much requirement for writing, and all of these kids are going to only be typing and keyboarding whatever they need to write, and we are already seeing that right now in 2022. So are we equipped to accept that sometimes maybe we need to allow children to write shorter answers initially, and believe me, children complain of pain in the wrist, pain in the arm, pain in the elbow, pain in their shoulders, pain in their neck when they are now being asked to write. And when they're not able to write, the acceptance that, oh, they are not able to write is causing a lot of anxiety. You would have seen with the senior kids that after they had to write a pen and paper test, many of them would have broken down because they were not able to complete their papers in time. And the same may be in your term 2 exams when you're going to introduce pen and paper tests, right? So when you find that a child is not able to finish their exams in time, be a little flexible, give them that extra time. It is important for us to check the concept learning, the performance of understanding, rather than right now getting into that thing about you have to finish your test in time, you didn't write. At the same time, it's time for teachers to gently bring in their firmness and with compassion and love. So I would like to request Ms. Paridi to ask her question. Ms. Paridi, would you unmute yourself and ask your question?
Yes, Miss. So, Miss, my question is that, yes, there are students from the Center of Wellbeing who are, having difficulty, and the parents are not ready to send them to school, where a lot of challenges, like how will they do it? How will they be able to cope up with it? Shadow teachers coming along, how will the class environment be like? So how do we think that, we can change the perspective of the parents and make them understand that it's now safe to send the kids to school, and to help them to feel more comfortable in the surroundings that they are learning about the new normal, as we say?
Yes, Ms. Kusum, would you want to take that?
Yes, it's see, what I would say is you remember that this is a phase, and building new relationships is a skill. And with support, children, you can get the trust, and you can get the faith of the parents and children, of course. Even though it's very hard to separate, what we are talking about, but they will gain a new trusted relationship in their new environment, and where only when they start feeling secure. So right in the beginning, of course, we have not made any distinction between our mainstream children and children with with certain learning gaps, or with special abilities children. So again, I always tell my teachers, and I always emphasize on carrying that emotional toolbox. You need to have a few skills, and you need to have scaffolding. You need to have those coping strategies with children, and start it small. Even if it is not, if they're not very comfortable meeting in inside the classrooms, can it be just outside your premises, just outside in maybe in the reception, or maybe you take a walk with the child. So building that trust. And of course, you are from Center of Wellbeing, and I wouldn't want to tell you anything more than this. You have such a fabulous head as well here. So just making these small little taking these small little steps is very, very important, because that's how we are we are also dealing with our children. And being smaller centers, we get more children with learning challenges, we get more children with special abilities as well. So we are taking them one on one. It's like we have an IEP, you can say, for an individual education plan for every child. So it's not that that we have a few and that's it, but it has to be an IEP for every child today, because every child has a different coping mechanism. They have different social emotional learning competencies and skills. So we need to do that for I would say for every child.
I would also say it would be a good start if we call these children only for remedial, just for an hour in the afternoon post the school hours, or for any kind of an intervention or counseling program. That the first step is to get into the school. So once they get to the school for an hour or for an half, only for the remedial or intervention programs, then slowly it's the same space. It's a space that will give them comfort, it will give them reassurance, it will build the trust. And then getting them back to a normal schooling hours wouldn't be as difficult as it is. And as I said, some of us are also sitting on the fence waiting for the government to say it's mandatory for your child to be sent to the school. Until then, they want to wait it out because they have seen maybe sickness from close quarters. They have seen death at close quarters. They have been a witness to losing their friends and families, and a lot of parents have also gone in through job changes. They are not in towns. There could be so many other reasons and stressors for them to come up with this resistance to sending their child back to school. So if they are in town and they still fear sending the children to school, I think the best way is to say that where we can possibly work best with your child is on one-on-one, and the child needs remedial for your academics or intervention or whatever the plans are. And so send the child just for half an hour to 1 hour in the afternoon. I would be more freer then. There wouldn't be any children in the school. There will be only adults. The children would have dispersed by that time and your child will be safe. So I think if you come up with these, if we implement these initially, I'm sure the children will be back in school very soon.
Absolutely. Also, if you can get hold of some mindfulness techniques, tools and techniques. So simple breathing, for your children. So we tried this, with our children in school, and it's worked beautifully even online. Keeping a small soft toy or a small cushion on their tummy, and they are just noticing it move up and down. So they're not just doing very targeted breathing, but once they're lying down, they put it on their stomach and they're noticing it going up and down, and it's a very normal breath. And this is what has made a difference and in emotional regulation. And once there is that emotional regulation, then you can set in the self-regulation and everything falls in place. So
yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So also let's remember 2 years before, when we moved from physical school to online schooling, the same parents were worried how would children with special needs cope with online, how would their attention span work. And we discovered that some of the children really blossomed and performed at their higher optimal level, being at home, because the distractions were less, being targeted at bullying has less, and so many advantages as there were disadvantages, and so the reverse would happen. And now the world is also accepting hybrid learning, so we are all not going to jump into a 100% classroom. Remember, we are starting with hybrid classrooms, so that is also a reassuring thing. Okay, so we need to kind of take this adage in mind. We should cross the bridge as it comes. That's one of the best de-stresses I use. When I have too much on my plate, I would say I will cross the bridge when it comes, when I am more apprehensive beyond what one can anticipate. Also is something one could practice. So we have already received many wonderful suggestions. I would like to take one last question. I would invite Ms. Pooja to unmute herself and ask a question.
Thank you, Ms. Sachu. So you have covered most of the points, and it was a really enlightening session. It was really good listening to all of that. I think I'm going to listen to it one more time to accumulate everything. But I was just wondering, like, how something related to Paridi's question only, that now that we were into virtual schooling, the academic goals were different, and then when we move on to physical schooling, of course we'll do the curriculum wouldn't be that fast, we'll do in phases. But then also, like, the parents expectations are a little higher notch than the school's expectations, and that kind of builds up pressure on the child then. So as counselors, if we can align the goals of the parents to what our goals are also, and not pressurize children for the academic gap that has been created because of the virtual learning, if any guidelines for that.
Sachu, would you want to take it and then we'll add on to that? I think before does that, all I would say is that it's a series of communications that is very important for all of us. Where there's no communication, there's a lot of misinformation as well, and a lot of anxiety. So as it is important for the teachers to be prepared to be back to school, for the child to be prepared to be back to school, it's also important for the parents' mental well-being as well, that they need to be prepared. And if there are parents who are sitting on the fence or not wanting to send the children, or anxious, and if they're anxious about the examination or the knowledge gaps or the learning gaps or the academic results, I would say that would only increase if the school communicates it to them in that manner. If we reassure it if we are very reassuring and we say that this is so much that the child can possibly do, this is not what we are looking at in this academic year, and this will be slowly built up by the end of the next academic year, and the parents are reassured of our support and we work collaboratively with them, I'm sure there wouldn't be much concern. The concern will come in when the school starts emphasizing more on the academics and less on the social and emotional well-being of the child, gives the children less time to prepare themselves to come back to the academics in full force. That is when these kind of concerns might possibly come up. This is my perspective and I might be wrong, but I think communicating to the parents in the right manner and what has to be communicated. We need to set our priorities as school leaders and teachers. We need to set our priorities right. What are we looking at? What is our first initial step? Are we looking at their emotional, mental, social well-being first, or we want to focus on the academics? If we want to focus on their social, mental, and emotional well-being, academics will follow. It's not going to go anywhere. We can give them that extra support. Even now, for those children who need extra support, we have children asking us on their own, can we come into school or can we stay back after school, because these are the chapters which we are not very clear about and we would like to have some support upon. And our children are staying back in school till 4:30. We have teachers who are not teaching them, for example, sciences in grade 8, but they are the high school teachers. They are stepping in to ensure that the gaps are minimized and the support is given. So a lot of exchange of information, knowledge, proper communication needs to be put into place to ensure that it's a good path for the parents also to tread upon. And I think we will have to set the path correct. I feel I take the responsibility of ensuring that my parents are not very anxious about the academics.
Right. Yeah. Also, we need to remember, Pooja, that children learn to cope with challenges, by watching how adults around them manage difficult times. So, it's very important for teachers and everyone to be kind to themselves, especially in the context of the pandemic, because this is offering their children a positive model of how they should take care of themselves, both now and in future. And, they also in turn will do the same as as parents when they become parents. So hold on to your child. I would say you're not giving up on children. So your child needs to feel assured that you as a teacher, you as a parent are there for him always. Praise the effort and not the outcome. For teachers, it's very important to have these happy distractions is what I would say. Means taking the mental vacation from the pandemic or even the challenges of being a teacher sometimes. Find something that you enjoy and that recharges you so that you can come back to teaching on a Monday morning with that energy and happiness you want to have, right? And also we have spoken so much about taking care of ourselves, taking care of our body, and getting enough sleep, being active, eating well, enjoy what you are eating, and these are absolutely critical to being the person you or we want our children to be right now. So just the two bits that I wanted to add.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Ms. Kusum. In fact, my two bit is only this much, that you are going to have a heterogeneous class. Point number one. So, our earlier understanding of differentiated instruction, differentiated assessment needs to be the feather in every teacher's cap. Understand that now the learning gaps and the learning levels of even the top 10 achievers of your class is going to be different. So what we have kind of talked about, strategies for children with special needs, are now going to be strategies that you would have to use for all children. So in a way, what Center of Wellbeing has been equipping you is going to be completely applied by you. So remember, an inclusive teacher doesn't become an inclusive teacher with any extra learning or with any extra skill sets that they require. All you need to be is creative, flexible, think out of the box, think differentiation, think how can I understand whether the child is expressing his understanding or performing his understanding, and when that performance of understanding is coming even after 3 days of me having transacted a class is good. I need to keep cognizance of it. Second bit is for you teachers. When you are now going to come regularly to school, remember that your body, your physical body, is used to being in a comfort zone at home. You could stretch your legs. You maybe some of you were conducting your class, stretching your legs, keeping your leg up. Sometimes you would have even used your cot to sit on with your laptops to run the class. Also, your body is now going to take a toll of the traffic. So suddenly there is momentum to your body, there's extra vibration to your body. Initial 15 days, you would have body ache, you would have pain. Be kind to yourself. Okay? Being kind to yourself means having self-love, being compassionate to yourself. When you go back home, maintain a few minutes or a half an hour of silence. Talk less when you are at home. Catch those breaks where you can be silent rather than chit-chatting with your other teacher friends, because you need to preserve your energy. Being kind to yourself means being able to delegate work to other family members. Just don't get into that run like those superwomen of like say 3 years before, how you were. You run from the train, you get sabzi, you do the marketing, you do the shopping, you do go back and cook. No. Be kind to yourself. Delegate work to all the family members, including your other children too, who are capable of supporting you. Third thing, being kind to yourself means resting. Find enough rest time. Those who have good rest usually have enough capacity to regenerate their energy. And when you have body aches, when you are feeling fatigued, when you are tired, don't get overwhelmed. That's all part of your body trying to readjust to the extra new physical work that you are putting out, which it has got adjusted to not putting out. So you would have to now hire back your previous help, domestic help that you would have let go, and you would have been doing it. So there is a lot of arrangements that you'll have to do. Some all these while, while you were coming in for physical schooling, maybe in November, December, your husbands or your spouses would have been at home to take care of many of these things. But from March, many of the organizations are calling your spouses also back to work. So take time, plan. When you feel you're getting anxious, we have the We Care cell within each of your school, and the We Care program, which is open to all the teachers and all the school staff for seeking counseling sessions with us, is very much open. You just need to put a mail at wecare@lighthouse-learning.com or cowb@lighthouse-learning.com, or call the helpline number 9594072848, seeking a session. To maintain confidentiality, we will ensure that a counselor is appointed to you even outside of your campus. So not necessarily your campus counselor would be counseling you. So please be assured that we are guided by the code of conduct of the American Psychology Association, and confidentiality is our top priority. So nothing is more important to us than your mental well-being. And there are many, many chances that you are suffering from within without seeking help. So this is the best time for all of you to put your hands up and say, listen, I'm going to have my emotional first aid, just like how we have physical first aid. So for whatever be the reason, don't hesitate. I've given you all the contacts possible. Please reach out and take the support, because only if you are well, are your children in your students in your classroom are going to be well. So with these words, I really, really thank Ms. Kusum Kanwar and Ms. Nikhat Jaffrey for sharing almost 1.5 hours with us and being extremely elaborate and sharing from the depths of their heart, their rich years of experience, but also walking the talk in the field, both being from a perspective of a COCO school or from the perspective of being in a supported manner, being a franchisee school. So we would be sharing the recording of the video with all your schools and also with the franchisee schools, so that they can revisit the recording. Also, this recording is going to be live on the same platform for the next 1 week. So those of you who have missed can log in again and hear the recording again. Okay, with great gratitude, I call this session to a close. And any parting sentences from Ms. Kusum or Ms. Nikhat?
So I would say that using mindfulness tools and techniques of emotional and social skills, they build children up for the life to come, and which will be evident in adulthood. So if you are a foundation years teacher, remember you have played a very crucial role, in the life of a child, right through middle years to, secondary, high school, and adulthood. And the greatest and the most persistent blockages to your progress in life usually comes from a single source, and that's you. And only you can truly decide what is a good life for you and for your the other people who are around you. So it's your me skills plus we skills that's equal to emotional intelligence. So I think this is my last parting lines for you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Ms. Nikhat. It was such a pleasure being with you on the same platform and getting to know so much. And thank you, Ms. Sachu and the whole team. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Kusum. I enjoyed being here with you. And before we part, I would like to just remind the teachers that you yourselves, and you need to remind yourselves and your students that you have control over different aspects of your life and that you can bring about change. And whenever you're facing some challenging times, I know it is very difficult to have hope. But I also know, and I would say from personal experience and otherwise also, that hope is indispensable to our recovery. As it is said, hope offers a means by which a better future can be perceived, and therefore it can also be achieved. So keep up your hopes high, and I'm sure all of us will do very well. I have learned a lot being on this platform, and I am glad that I share such a great synergy with Ms. Kusum and Sachu, and I've got to learn so much, and I'm sure all of you must have some takeaways from this session of ours today. Thank you so very much, and all the very best for the new academic year, which will begin in a month's time, and for the full school resumption. Thank you.
Thank you. And signing off today from all of you is Sachu Ramalingam, Lead Center of Wellbeing, and hoping to have a wonderful academic year end and a new year beginning. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.